background about the importance of honeybees. They about 13,000 BC, and I don't know about you, but I can't visualize that far back. All I can say is it's a long ways. And they have pictures of rock eye, and those things are just bees hanging in trees, and these people crawling up there. And then we have pictographs, which are like 7,000 BC, and they have people crawling up and getting them out of rocks and so on. It seemed that in most cases the picture showed them running around with not a lot of clothing on. Back at this point in time, probably smoke was probably used, and they would crawl out there and take the comb away from the bees. The pictographs are found in Africa, Europe, Asia, Asia Minor, and so on, but there are no pictographs found in any rock formations in North or South America. And I'll tell you why in a minute. This is the Egyptians. And then were the first to probably really tried to keep bees, and bees and honey are very important to them. The honey was considered valuable, and some of you may have heard that the Egyptian tombs, that they found honey in some of those that was good to eat. And that was 2400 BC. They kept bees in tube type things made out of straw and clay. And they had them on boats, and they moved them up and down the Nile River according to the season. And they would get the honey out of them. So they were kind of the first records, at least, where bees were kept in some kind of a container. There were no bees in the United States at the time of Columbus. The first bees were brought over on sailing boats, and first recorded is 1622, after 620, but 1620, but we won't argue. And they brought them over in what are called skeps, and I think you've seen pictures of them, the grass woven things. And they were first started about 1400. A lot of times they had to kill the bees to get the honey, and so they always started over. They did learn after a while that you might take a skep that had bees and honey in it, and you turn it over and put an empty one on top. Bees tend to migrate up, and so then most of them would go up, and so they could save the bees. Before that, they burned sulfur or something and killed them.
Where country did they come?
England. They Virginia was settled by and so they came from England. England had bees for a long time, and they might have been the German bees, which are black bees and rather ornery, and so they may have been the Italian kind too. You'll talk and find out more about those. It's also interesting that I don't know, maybe they didn't have anything else to do, but there seemed to be a lot of religious people that were involved with beekeeping. It's considered to be the father of beekeeping in England. This guy happened to be a physician, and he dissected insects, and most important is that they went through the stages of metamorphosis, egg, larva, pupa. Okay. And this is in 1600s yet. Next. This guy is, when we get to the 1800s, and this is where everything happened. The 1800s, middle 1800s, and Francis Huber was Swiss, and he was blind. And he hired a man to work to be his eyes. And it's a really nice book. It's part novel. Women might like it. It's The Beekeeper's Pupil, Sarah George. And there's a lot of bee history of what he did. And he did it all through the eyes of another person. And he found that the queen mates in the air, and a number of other things. And then we have a minister, Lorenzo Langstroth, and that's the kind of hive you will have if you bought one or get one. And he is considered the father of American beekeeping. And he developed the movable frames, and he found what is called bee space in between the frames, which is important so that you don't, great things don't happen. That's next. Quimby, the first person, they used smoke before, but you used torches and that kind of thing. And then Quimby was the first one that put bellows on some kind of device to blow the smoke. Then you have the modern smoker sticks. He was a priest. There's a nice word there, parthenogenesis. That's a pretty good word for anybody. But that means that the organism developed without fertilization. Queen can lay two kinds of eggs, one that's fertilized and one that's not. And the one that's not will develop into a drone. And the whole system, which Oscar's going to tell you about in 2 minutes, covered that. He's kind of also known as the father of commercial beekeeping. He made produced some regular foundation. Next, Charles Leda. The company is in Hamilton, Illinois, way down there. It happened that a year ago, a little better, they had their 150th anniversary, and they advertised that they would come and they would take care of you and treat you and feed you and all that sort of thing for free. And so I went, my wife, and it's a very interesting place. They probably are the largest bee supply company in the world. The 7th generation, I think it is, now is running, and we had a big banquet also. And he had bees. He started the American Bee Journal, which is still in existence. They, or whatever, Nature, he developed the first type of extractor. The story goes that he was watching a kid that had a stick with a string and a piece of comb on it, and it was whirling above his head, and the honey flew out, the light bulb went on, and he figured out a way to do that. That's an early wooden example. Now they're all got stainless steel, and that one probably had 4 that will be put in there. Now you have extractors that hold 60 frames at a time if you're a big operator. I don't think any of you want one that size, but next. And then the fourth person is Brooke. He is in Ohio. He also has been called Gleanings of Beekeeping, but that's now changed to the bee culture. And they are primarily in information sources and candles now. They used to supply that. By the way, I didn't check. Back up. As far as ordering bees, until not too long ago, Sears and Roebuck sold bees, and you got them by mail, and you could order a package of bees, by mail, then and the postal department had to deliver them. They were not too happy about that. And you still have sources down south that will ship bees by parcel post, but it's rather expensive. And Miller also is a commercial beekeeper that specializes in home honey. Carl Longfresh, a German, he did a lot of research with bees locating nectar sources and reporting back to the hive. And he won a Nobel Peace Prize for his work in 1973. I mentioned just a little bit more of the importance of bees in terms of medicine. You have like those health things, but bee stings. I knew a lady that was a minister, lived about 50 miles from here, and she was stinging herself in her legs twice a day, or twice a week. And she claimed that it was helping. She had MS. And there's a lot of things involved in that. It's called apitherapy, and it's a whole big organization about the importance of honey and bees in terms of medicine. There was, I know all of him, I didn't meet him, he lived to be 90-some years. He lived in Vermont, and he treated people all the time with bee stings. He had a concert pianist from California that every year came and got stung in her little finger because it was slightly arthritic. And so there's a lot of possibilities for investigation in that area. I won't bother with it now, but I have a list, it's 2 pages long, of all the things that honey is supposed to do for you in terms of strokes and upset stomach. And there's a treatment of some kind where they used honey and applied it to your eyes, so it would help with glaucoma and so on. There it shows getting stung in the finger. How many volunteered to have tried that? He is the one that did all the work about venom and the uses of that. And then this is a rather recent person. He's also German, and he talks a lot about how a colony of bees is really a single organism, and that all the parts within function just like the parts of a regular organism. It's a very good book. It's rather technical. I wouldn't recommend it as first try.